I've never done the whole podcast thing before, but something I've been wanting to do, and so I figured I'd just give it a try. But one thing that I enjoy talking about and really love talking about is basketball. So I guess with the NBA Finals being in effect, I figured I'd cover that and what's been going on so far. But with Game 2 just taking place, I guess I'd first talk a little bit about Game 1. Obviously, Toronto winning that game. Pascal Siakam, obviously being the difference maker, scoring a game high 32 points. Correct me if I'm wrong. And Kawhi being a difference maker as well, not performing the way he would like to. And Steph on the other side, coming out. Clay as well leading the way. Then you have Draymond who didn't show up. I think he went 2 for 9. The Raptors came out and really played an amazing defense on Golden State, and so they hope to do the same in Game 2, and that was the case in the first half of Game 2. Toronto jumped out to a 10-point lead, a double-digit lead at one point in the game. And that lead was cut to 5 by halftime. And then following the half, Golden State came out with an 18-0 run. And so that's just unacceptable. I mean, you can't allow, and this is something that Golden State is notorious for, coming out after a half and closing a gap that most teams build before the half. So you really, it's a tale of 4 quarters, so you can't allow them to build any momentum. And so the key, you have to play all 4 quarters strong, and Toronto failed to do that. Defensive lapse, not closing out on shooters. They let Bogut score in the paint. They let Quinn Cook get off and connect, I think, on 3 triples. And let some wide open jumpers be allowed by some of their key shooters, such as Iguodala. So that's the closeout is key, and so like I said, the defensive lapses happened, and so that's something that Toronto will have to improve on in Game 3, and so the fourth quarter continued, the lead built by Golden State. And it seemed and Toronto came back a little bit and they closed that gap. And they actually closed it by 2 points, I think within about 5 minutes left within the game. But then, they weren't able to overcome that deficit. Couple costly turnovers and poor possessions down the stretch. And then ultimately a dagger 3 by Iguodala is what sealed the game. So Toronto has to be better. They have to bring the intensity that they brought in Game 1. They have to bring the defense that they brought in Game 1 is key. Coming off of screens and closing out on Curry and Thompson. And if they've got any chance, they have to close out on all the shooters that Golden State has. Golden State showed the resilience that they have and why they're such an effective and dynamic team. And obviously with the looming threat that Kevin Durant brings, his possible return in Game 3. In talking to one of my good friends the other day, is Durant a luxury, or is he a difference maker? I agreed that he is a luxury to have, and so obviously Golden State is a threat by themselves, and they proved that again tonight. So now if Durant comes back in Game 3, Toronto obviously has enough problems on their hands. So if Durant returns in Game 3, will Toronto be able to make the adjustment with Durant coming back? So these are things that Toronto have to face. Closing out on shooters, closing out on if and making sure if the Warriors team is healthy, will they be able to stop a healthy Golden State team, a team that saw the return of DeMarcus Cousins, and him playing returning to his form and showing what he's capable of. But we'll see what happens. Golden State is going to come back home, so that's also another threat in itself. Toronto's not going to have their home base. So, we'll see what happens, and I will I'll cover the next post game as well.